Hi guys, so it is Christmas week and I'm going to give myself a huge, massive Christmas present for next year's garden. I'm going to go ahead and get some seeds started. Now what we're working with today are going to be ones that take a very long time to germinate, a very long time to grow, or ones that we can put out in early to mid-March. My last frost date is usually around April 20th, so there are a number of cool season crops and flowers that we can actually get out in the very early to mid part of March, a full month before that frost date. So that is some of what we're going to be starting here, and really excited to get this going. Seems like it's been a year since the last garden, and it was only been a couple of months, and I still got a little bit more to do out there. I got some bulbs to plant still. I'm going to try to get that next weekend right after Christmas, because we're supposed to go up to 70 degrees. Can you believe it? Holy cow. We had 5 degrees last weekend. This weekend is moderate. Next weekend it's going to be 70. You just never know what's going to happen. Which has led me to not do my winter sowing yet. I'm a little bit worried about that going out and germinating too early. Some of the things I have here will also be included in the winter sowing. We have quite a few other things. And I will have a video very soon, I hope, with the winter sowing as well. But I'd like to welcome you to my backyard Kentucky homestead. My name is Kim. And let me share with you what we're going to plant. And then I'll show you how we're going to plant that up. So the first thing is going to be some onions. Now I did start onions in August. I planted them in the garden in the mid to latter part of October. I've got 2 full beds worth of onions. I am hoping to overwinter now. Technically it should work. My concern is that I got them started too late and transplanted too late, so that the roots might not have had enough time to really develop and really set in for the winter. So to hedge my bets, I'm doing 2 things, and I may end up with way too many onions, and not like that's ever happened before. I think last year I had about 500 or 600 onions. I shared a lot of those plants. So my longest day for sunlight is going to be around the middle of June, and we get almost to 15 hours. Not quite, but almost. So I'm going to do intermediate and long day onions. The intermediate day is going to be that central portion of the U.S. Long day are going to be for your northern regions. And southern day is going to be the southern states. So the first one is Gladstone. It is an intermediate 110-day onion. It has a moderate storage capacity. So it's going to go ahead and do yellow sweet Spanish onion. Do some more Scout, Abalone, and Patterson. Now, the last 3 is Scout, Abalone, and Patterson, and possibly Utah. I actually may have these already out in the garden, and I'm not going to do a whole lot of these. I'm going to do a few, along with some Gladstone, which I've not done before. This is a new one. But the second thing I've done to hedge my bets is I went ahead and ordered some seed starts or some onion plants from Dixondale Farms. I ordered them last year. I ordered them at the very end of March, so they were really late getting into the garden. It wasn't until April that I received them, which, I mean, they sent them out right away, but it takes a while for the post office to get us stuff and all that. But really good quality onions. It's like $16.50 for at least 4 dozen starts. Honestly, the bundles I had last year had upwards of 60 onion plants in each one. But the more you buy, the lower the price. So it's $16.70 for 1 bunch of 48. 2 bunches is $26.30. 3 is $32.10. So the more bunches you buy, the price goes down quite substantially. And you can order these online, but I had really good luck with them. I ordered Candy, which is a sweet onion. Has about a 3-month storage, which from what I experienced this year is accurate. Also Red Candy Apple, which is an intermediate day, 2 to 3 month storage. And before I read the long day onions, storage onions really need 15 hours of sun. I ordered the Patterson again, which we got Patterson, and they did bulb up. They just weren't massive. Again, these should come the end of February, early part of March. So I will have them in the garden by the 15th of March. So at least a half a month, 2 to 3, maybe 4 weeks earlier than last year. So that will give them longer to grow. So the onions, the larger the plant is before you get to the bulbing hour range, the bigger the bulb can get. all of the bulbing portion of that onion is directly tied to the number of leaves that it has. So the larger that plant can get before it starts bulbing, the bigger potential of the onion you have. So I'm going to try to get everything out really early this year. But for the long day, I got Patterson, and for the red one, I got a Red Wing. So there are 8 to 10 month storage for those two. Again, long day onions are 14 to 16 hours, but it does say that the storage onions do better with 15 to 16. So we're right on the edge of that. We will get bulbing onions, just not sure how big. So those are the onions. Also going to go ahead and start some bunching onions. This is for indoor use. And I'm going to go ahead and start a couple of herbs. I'm going to do some dwarf Greek basil and also some rosemary. I had some rosemary plants, absolutely beautiful, grew in the garden last year. Tried to take them in the, say last year, it's still this year, but it's next year. It gets confusing. The year ends when the season's over. But for the 2025 garden, I had 3 plants that looked really, really healthy. Took them out, took them indoors, and they've subsequently all dried up and died. So I'm going to go ahead and start some more. Now for flowers, super, super exciting. I've got a couple of different varieties here that I'm going to try that I've not done before. I've got 2 snapdragons from Johnny's. One is Potomac Plum Blossom. It's pelleted seed. And Avignon Lavender. And I'll put pictures up on the screen for what these look like. They're just really gorgeous. Now the Potomac series gets 4 to 5 feet tall. And the Avignon is about 2.5 to 3 feet tall. So I'll have a variety of those. I also want to do some dwarf ones from Burpees. I got the dwarf mixed snapdragons, and these are supposed to be about 10 inches tall. So really, really pretty. I did a variety of different snapdragons last year. Now snapdragons are a cool season crop. They don't like it when the temperatures really get hot. Now I did find that they came back. They kind of waned over the really hot part of the summer, but I left the plants, and then they rejuvenated when the fall temperature started cooling down. And I somehow ended up ordering 2 Potomac Plum Blossom. I didn't need 2, but I got 2. Sometimes you need to double check your order. All right, so these are the same, but they are also Burpee Troubadour mixed color pansies. Pansies are one that love the cold temperatures. I actually had some planted at pots that I did at work last year. I think, yeah, it was last year. So I put them out into the pots the previous fall. They never got big enough to bloom. I left them there over the winter, and then darn if come February of the next year, they started growing and blossoming in February. I had a fairly warm winter considering, but they love the cold weather, cool weather. So I want to make sure that I have these ready to go to plant out in late February, early March, so that we can get some really early, beautiful blossoms. Frost comes, we may need to cover them, but they'll be fine just with a simple little cover. Along the same line, I want to do some Johnny Jump Ups or violas, a couple of different violas. One is Johnny Jump Up. They get to be about 6 to 10 inches tall. So these are really pretty. I did some last year. I'm hoping they'll come back. We're going to do a few more. And I got 3 varieties of hybrid violas from Johnny's. Penny Marina F1. Sorbet XP Deep Orange. And then Penny Rose Rose Blotch F1. So these should all be perennials. Short-lived perennials, often grown as an annual. So we'll see if they come back or not. Probably going to put a lot of these in the green stocks this year. Maybe the black one that we just got closer to the house, especially when it comes to the warmer temperatures. The final group that we're going to do are Lisianthus. Now, I tried Lisianthus for the very first time 2 years ago. It was a complete disaster. I planted about 150 seeds. I ended up with 10 plants. Swore I would never ever do it, and then they blossomed, and then I fell in love with them. They were gorgeous. So for this year, I started them back in January, I think, or very late December of 24. Had a whole lot more success. Got tons and tons of plants. I didn't plant as many seeds, but a lot of success. planted a ton of them out in my garden. I shared a whole bunch with people, friends and family. Absolutely gorgeous. Love them. So I'm going to try 3 different colors this year. We're going to do Arena 3 Baby Pink Pelleted. And these are also very, very tiny, so the pelleted helps a lot to plant them. Arena 3 Red and Mariachi Pure White, F1 pelleted. So Lisianthus comes in 4 different groupings. The first group will usually bloom in the very late winter to early spring. Group 2 will bloom from late spring to early summer. Group 3 will bloom from summer into fall. And then the group 4 will bloom, I believe, from late summer into your first frost until it gets killed. Now, I have seen some people talk about trying to winter these over. I'm in zone 7. So I thought these were annual, so I pulled what I had this year out already and got rid of them. So I will try to leave these in a place in the garden that they can try to come back next year. We'll see what we get. Apparently it's sketchy, but why not? We'll give it a try. But I think Mariachi White is 2, and then the Arena varieties, Baby Pink and Red, are the 3rd group. So these will be summer to late fall. This will be the early part of late spring, early summer. So let's go ahead and get some soil ready, and we'll get our seeds trays ready. Let me show you. Okay, so first let me show you what we're going to be using to plant. What I have here are the Burpee 32 cell, and they were used. I did not wash them. Don't hate me for that. But we have the 32 cell trays. Since these are small seeds, we're going to go ahead and start with these. If we have to up pot them, we will. But they do have a container underneath to catch the water. But I really, really like these because it makes it easy to push the plants out. I would highly recommend, if you're interested in these, they do have them on Amazon. I'll link them below. But I got a lot of mine at Meijer. They clearanced them out for like half price, and I got some this year. I got some the end of last season as well. We'll also need some tags and a marker. And I'm not worried about a UV resistant marker because these are going to be indoors and they'll be repotted before we put them outside. Also going to be starting with some seed starting mix. Now usually I use the Burpee seed starting mix, but I got this on clearance at the end of this year. So we're going to go ahead and use this one. This one does have Miracle-Gro in it already, so there is some nutrient availability. But if you're using seed starting mix, you want to double check it. Jiffy usually does not include anything. Burpee does, and I've had really great success with the Burpee, so we'll see how this goes. But if it does not have any nutrients, you're going to need to probably start fertilizing these earlier once they germinate rather than a little bit later. But I like having a little bit of nutrient in the seed starting mix to start with. Makes it just a little easier so that you're not killing stuff. I also have some vermiculite. This I'm going to put on top of the seeds. It will help to prevent dampening off. This will help prevent some of that from happening, hopefully most, if not all of it. We'll also be watering from the bottom after the seeds germinate, which will also help prevent dampening off, and just the algae growth on top, because that can get pretty gross, especially where these are going to be growing for a long time. So one more thing with regard to seeds that are going to be in the grow room for a while. And probably I would never use these under any circumstance, but they do have the peep or the cardboard type starters. Those are a disaster. I tried onions, although those my first year 3 years ago, and they molded and fell apart, and it was disgusting. And it put me so far back because I had to restart. Because when I transplanted them, they were too young into something that wasn't falling apart or molding. So I would not use those cardboard peat type seed starting containers for anything that's going to be in the grow room for any length of time. It might be good for anything that's in there 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, but if it's going to be in there longer than that, I wouldn't use it. So the first thing we're going to do now, I usually have a very large green tray that makes this a lot easier, but it is buried in the shed and I'm not going to be able to get that out until after Christmas. But we do want to go ahead and pre-moisten our soil. That's a big piece. Take that out. Overall, this looks pretty good. It's really light, fluffy. It has some perlite in it, looks like. But we want to go ahead and pre-moisten this to ensure that everything is moistened all the way through. And it's going to take more water than you think to actually get it hydrated. This is a very dry mix, so it is somewhat water phobic, but we want it to have, what we want is to have it scrunch together and not fall apart. So it's getting close. So now we're able to make a ball, but we're not squeezing any water out. So that's pretty much where we want it to be. So what I want to do now is go ahead and get this soil into each of these pockets. I want to push it down into them. You don't want to push too hard, but you want to make sure that there's no air pockets below. And any large pieces, this isn't the best quality to have that, so I'm going to remove any large pieces like that. I don't generally find that with the burpee. Like I said, this is the first time I've used Miracle-Gro, and it was clearanced. Just poking that down a little bit, how far down it goes. So there are air pockets underneath that. Let's start with the Lisianthus. Now these each have 50 seeds in them, but they're going to be very, very, very small for a very long time, which will allow us to have more seeds planted and not as many containers for a while. Okay. So that's what we've got. And if you want to look at the package to see, germination is 10 to 15 days. And so 12 to 13 weeks in deep cell packs before last frost. Do not cover seed. Okay, so these need light to germinate. So we are going to just set them on top, and then we're going to pat them. Yes, I hear you. So we're going to go ahead and just put these on top. And these will take 2 to 3 weeks up to about 2 weeks to germinate. And then they will grow so slowly you won't think that they're actually doing anything. But it's amazing. Once they get out into the heat, I mean, they will start growing. And then once they get out into the heat, they just take off. And they're absolutely beautiful. Get you back over there. So you can see how this is pretty hard to see as it is. Without the pelleting, it would be just ridiculous. That'll work. Just put a couple of extra seeds when there aren't any placed. And then we can transplant these once they get bigger. Okay, that is Arena 3 red. Oh, alright, I messed up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to move these over. I've actually only got enough to do 2. I don't have 2 extra cells per variety. If they're a little mixed up, they're a little mixed up. But so we'll do 2 rows of red, 2 rows of pink, 2 rows of mariachi white. And I'll just know that I might have a mixture of red and pink in these 2 cells because I goofed up a little bit. Alright, so we have our red. Now what I want to do is go ahead and just push these down. Make sure your finger does not pick them up like that. If you can, separate them. But you don't want to cover them, but they do need to have good contact with the soil. Okay, we'll do baby pink. So these are the mariachi white, and these were pelleted with a yellow clay. So those are the mariachi white, the baby pink, and then the red. And like the other ones, I'm going to go ahead and try to separate these and then push them down. just so that they have good contact with the soil. The next step is going to be to put a light layer of vermiculite. Now, even though these need light to germinate, the vermiculite will not get in the way of that, but we are going to just do a light coating of it. This will also help to ensure that the soil stays moist and doesn't dry out as fast. So what we want to do now is to go ahead and mist these and make sure that they are well watered at this point. They need that water to break down the clay coating, but also the seed will need it to germinate. And we want to use a mister because we do not want to blow the seeds out of the tray off into the Never Never, because we will never find them again. So just gently mist it till the vermiculite is solid, and then we'll give it a good spray. Now probably I will check this every day for the next 2 weeks until it germinates. And we will mist it from the top until it germinates once it's drying out. So we'll probably end up watering it every 2 days or so. Once it does start to germinate from the top, then we will want to go ahead and start watering from the bottom. So what we're going to do now is just cover it with a piece of plastic, humidity dome style. And this will just help keep the dirt or the soil moist until those germinate. So there's that Lisianthus. We are set and ready to grow. Yes. The rest of them are going to be the same thing. I will run through those really quick and then we'll be back. So let's go ahead and do the pansies and the violas next. The pansies need to be about 1/8 of an inch deep. And the violas are just barely covered. So let's go ahead, we'll use this as it is. And let me go ahead and make tags so they don't get lost. Okay. So we're going to do 2 rows of the pansies, 1 row of the Johnny Jump Up, and 1 each of the Penny Marina, Sorbet Deep Orange, Penny Rose Blotch. Okay, and you do want to make sure that you don't get your seeds wet if you're not planting them, because that will cause them to open up and then they will not germinate after that. So the water, what it does is it causes the seed to swell up, which opens up a little opening for the growth to come out. And once the seeds are wet, if they're not planted, they're no good anymore. So these, in my very dirty hand, are the pansy seeds. And these need to be about 1/8 of an inch deep. So we are going to go down here, do a couple in each cell. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of soil, put it on top, because we want to go about 1/8 of an inch, which is not much. And I'm going to just tap that down. I'll tell you, it feels good to play in the dirt. I have missed that. Okay. It is messy, and I would rather be doing this outside, but it's a little chilly today. All right. So we have pansies, and we still have 1 more. We will just set this back into the seed stash. And this is Helen Mount Johnny Jump Up, 1/8 of an inch deep. Okay, they look very similar, a little different shape, but very similar to the petunias, or the pansies. I do intend to do petunias later on. Now, probably I'm not going to do all of these. I'm going to put them back. And then we can do those more later. But again, I'll go ahead and put a little bit of soil on top. Let's do the snapdragons. And these need light to germinate as well. So these are unpelleted snapdragon seeds. And no, I absolutely cannot see these seeds. I'm just guesstimating, hoping to get some in each of the cells. Okay, so that's Avignon lavender. Okay, we'll do Potomac plum blossom. Now I'm going to do Potomac plum blossom since I have 2 packages. I'm going to do it 2 different ways. I'm going to start some inside, and I'm also going to plant some out with my winter sowing. That's how small they are. It's crazy. I have found snapdragons to be very resilient, both to transplanting and to cold weather, so super excited to see what these are. The ones I've grown previously were all shorter ones, so it'd be nice to see some really tall. Alright, so next we're going to go ahead and do the onions, and I'm going to do them in this larger container. They'll give it a little bit more space. I've got, let's see, 4 varieties, 5 varieties. I have Patterson coming, so let's do the yellow sweet Spanish, Scout, Avalon, and Gladstone. And what I'm going to do 1 in each of the 4 rows, and then we're going to do multiple seeds per cell. So these are actually coated. So the inorganic coating improves seed viability when sowing. So these are a little different. Usually onion seeds are completely black, but these have a coating on them. These are Gladstone. So we're just going to put several in each cell because they do well bunched up together. And we will just pull them apart when we're ready to put them outside. Let's see, we're going to do the green onions, rosemary, and basil, quarter inch. Okay, so these are all quarter inch as well. But we're not going to put as many of the seeds into these, especially for the rosemary and the basil. Might maybe do 2 seeds per cell. All right, so we have the seeds in the seed growing room. The lights are on. They'll be on for about 16 hours a day. And I got Mylar on the back. I do have a video, I'll link it below, about how I set this whole grow station up. I have quite a few. I got 4 shelves on each unit. And then I got my citrus in here as well. We're not all set up yet, but lemon. So anyway, Oh, there we go. So we got the first seeds of next year's garden planted. Super excited about that. Got a few things out in the garden already, but these are the first seeds for 2026. So I thank you guys for joining me. If you're interested in more gardening videos, do check this one out. Until the next time, happy gardening. Have a wonderful day. Bye.